So now that we've already created our first real piece of content in the CMS with the case study to kind of see how modular content works, let's move on to something that a lot of us are going to be creating on a very regular basis, right? Like we've all got blog posts in our CMS. And we've kind of structured this model to showcase the more common elements. You'd have things like a title, a link or an association to an author. We've added the structured text field, which has a lot of capabilities with the ability to embed blocks as well as work with slash commands and formatting options. And we've also enriched this with having things like the SEO and social field. We've given ourselves the ability or the option to add localizations without requiring them because posts might not always be localized. But more importantly, what we did not have on the case study model was a dedicated featured image or an asset field here. So what we couldn't see in the social previews for case studies was the actual image when we wanted to see what it would look like when we're sharing it on Twitter or on LinkedIn, which is not the case with blog posts. We most definitely want to have an OG image associated with the post. So here we're going to kind of see how the SEO and social field is going to inherit this along with the title and the slug to have our previews for all the different platforms. And also, since we're going to be working with a structured text field, I thought it would make a bit more sense to split this into two videos, right? We'd have one where we're just kind of zipping through the workflow of creating a blog post, going through the different fields, seeing how content works, what the previews look like, what localization looks like. And then in the next video, we'll kind of take a bit more of a deep dive into just the structured text field where we'll create a blog post together and utilize some of the slash commands for blocks and formatting, as well as kind of see how the content editing experience within Dato would work. So let's go ahead and kind of create our first blog post, right? Let's go with something whimsical like our fave items in our swag store. And very similar to some of the previous content we've created, we're already generating our slug. And from this title and slug, we've kind of already got the foundation of what this is going to look like on our SERPs and on different platforms. And now, since I have uploaded videos, I'm going to go ahead and choose this really morosely colored featured image generated by AI that's showcasing our swag store. And the first thing to check here is on the socials preview, this has automatically been inherited since it's a field associated with the model. We have social previews for LinkedIn, for Slack, for WhatsApp, and what have you. That already brings our complete OG tags in for the title, for the image, and for the slug. We still haven't added the description, but that's up next. And I mean, here we don't need to create a lot of people again. We've already created several authors, but when you're creating posts, it's always nice to know you have the option to create a new person from scratch if you haven't got one to link to. You could also choose someone from the library. So here, if we had, again, 100 people and we'd kind of created a filter in the past where the person's category would contain author, we would have a sort of filtered list to choose from where things were sort of making sure we didn't associate it with a customer by accident. But since we've got very few and I kind of know who the authors are, I'm just going to go ahead and associate this to Fabian from the little drop down. On the description, we can whip something quickly like this is swag by now. Now, since we'll take a deeper look into the structured text editor in the next video, I thought it would be cool to highlight some different workflows that a lot of us might be used to, right? Like for many reasons, whether it's compliance or comments and approvals, or because we've worked with legacy CMSs that have really clunky HTML editors or plain text editors without a lot of formatting options, we might be used to using tools like Google Docs or Notion and kind of copy pasting our content over into the CMS before publishing. So as a little homage to that workflow, I've created a low-effort blog post in Notion. Since I've already uploaded images into Dato, I didn't want to duplicate this, so I've just kept a reminder for myself to add images in. But what I have done is add some very simple formatting for things like H1s and H2s to see what this looks like when I copy-paste it over. So let's go ahead and do that. And there we have it. So we've already got our formatting in place. The structure is taken care of. We really don't have a lot to tweak. It's just up to me to go ahead and start updating the images because I didn't want to duplicate the workflow and have the image coming in twice just for the sake of cleanliness, right? So gonna drop that, gonna drop these pink boots in, which is a collab, and this gray t-shirt in. So what I've been doing here, honestly, in just a matter of seconds, using the slash commands, is dropping in images at a very rapid speed. So you can already kind of get a little preview into what the next video is going to be like and how easy it is to work with the structure text field. So now that I've got the title, the description, the slug, the content itself, and I'm happy with the social previews, we can see here that we should already have, yep, the description's already come in. So now that we have everything, I consider this to be a relatively complete post. So I'm going to go ahead and save the English version, but maybe we want to have a translator create something in Italian for us. So since we have the option to add localizations and we're not restricted or forced to or required to have localizations, let's just choose which languages we want to create something in. For this blog post, maybe we just want to have a different version in Italian. So I'll go ahead and add this locale. Now, I have the option to kind of copy over the content from English, where the Italian version will be an identical copy to this. Could be several reasons. Either you just want to test your language switcher on staging and you don't care about the final copy, or you've got a translator who's working with you in the CMS who might not have the rights or the permissions to look at the English version and can only look at the Italian version. So they would need a starting point or a reference on what they're translating. Several reasons, but for now, let's just start from scratch. So what we'll see first of all is the fields that we had not had localizations enabled for carried forward, and they're kind of cloned here. These would always be the same regardless of which localization you're working with. So the featured image wouldn't change, the title and the description wouldn't change, which is again something I should have considered because we would want to have these in Italian. However, we did say we wanted the slug and the content itself to be localized on this field. So I'm going to go ahead and just give this a slug for swag, which takes away that error. And on the content, either I could copy it over from English or type it from scratch, or since Notion gives us AI for translations, I am going to go ahead and just copy this over, which I have not validated. So if there's any errors in the translations, it's on AI, not me. I'm not going to repeat the whole workflow. You've seen what that works like for the images. So I'll just go ahead and save this. And here again, when we look at the previews, nothing really changes since the description and the title and image were not localized. But if they were, you would have a localized version showing up here as well. And there we have it, a very simple sort of workflow on how to create a blog post and add a localization within DatoCMS. And in the next video, let's spend a little more time together focusing only on the structured text field where I will have some content on the site to sort of look at and type over, but we'll be doing a lot of things from scratch, like the actual content typing, the formatting for things like headers and bullets and common formatting that you would apply to content, as well as adding different formats of media to see what blocks we've associated. So images, videos, and maybe some new formats that we haven't kind of interacted with yet. So I'll see you in the next one for going over the structured text.